Hey guys, Dean the Vestlord DeFalco bringing you another episode of Bytes. Today I want to talk about Zelda Breath of the Wild, and is it really worth the hype? So, the Legend of Zelda franchise has so many games being a part of it, and they all kind of vary. Whether it be Zelda 2 being a side-scroller, you have A Link to the Past, which was a huge hit on the Super Nintendo. You even have the original, which really just paved the way for exploration games and adventure games in general. But I feel it came to a point where a lot of these games all started being a bit of the same. You had these temples you had to go through, you had to beat these bosses, and while the stories and elements changed, the core mechanics didn't really change that much, which to me became a little stagnant. Now, people will say that Wind Waker was a breath of fresh air, and I believe, looking back, Nintendo thought of past iterations which one left the biggest footprint in recent years, and I would have to say that Wind Waker was probably their biggest inspiration for Breath of the Wild. Now you'll ask me why, but the reason being is that Breath of the Wild has so much to do with exploration and branching paths that you can take. I mean, literally the world is a gigantic tree with roots just going all over the place that you can kind of walk down and find your own way to go, and that's what makes this game great. Now, this is a big difference from where they've been before, where everything's just kind of in a line, where you have, activity B, activity C, activity D, and going so forth till you get to the end of the game. Now, this game has all those activities, but they're all spread out all over the place, and you can do them in any order that you want, and that's great. I really thought that, being able to take on any divine beast that you want from the beginning was really cool. Or you could just skip all that and see if you could take on Ganon by yourself with almost next to nothing, making it through his castle and then finally fighting him. I feel like that was an option that they left for people who thought, they could just get through it like that. But it opened up an entire avenue of competition, which was really, really cool. But getting away from that, there were a ton of really great things in this game. There are a lot of people who are going to poo-poo on the fact that you have a jaggy frame rate, the voice acting's not great, and there's not a lot of story in the game. But I feel that the game is what you make of it. The story is, how much you put into it. Now, you can just go and fight Ganon and not know anything about the story besides, hey, listen, Zelda needs you to come get her, go to this castle, fight the bad guy, if you beat him, you'll get Zelda back. The end. You can just do that, and that could be the end of the game for you. But what fun is that if, you're not exploring, you're not checking things out, you're not doing this world service, because let's be real, the developers at Nintendo put in so much time into this game, and such love and passion into every little inch, that you're missing so much out if you don't go out in the wild and check all this stuff out. I mean, just for instance, you can go ahead and buy a house in the game, but it becomes more than that, because once you talk to the developer who's making this house, well, who's selling you this house, you can go ahead and find one of the builders, and he's making his own town in the game, which is insane. That is really, really cool. There's other things like checking out all the stuff in the respective villages that you can go through. Like the Gerudo village, you can find out the secret password to get into the secret shop in the Gerudo's main town, and get special equipment from there, which is really cool. There's not a lot of stuff like that in other games, which I feel that this game is an amalgamation of a lot of games put together. You have the exploration and open worldness of Skyrim. You have these big boss battles that are insane, and these gigantic monsters roaming around like you would see in Shadow of Colossus, which is really cool. You have tons of enemies going on, and you have this sort of scaling difficulty that you'd find in a lot of adventure games or action games like God of War or something like that. You have an incredible weapon system, though some people might argue that the durability system is a little flawed. But let's be real when we're thinking about this, is that the game is encouraging you to find other ways to defeat these enemies. It's not always about hacking and slashing in this game. And I think that's really cool, is that they put that time and effort into creating a world where you don't have to just run up to a bad guy with a sword, where you can do other things to hurt them. Like, you can use your powers, you can use the surroundings, you can pit one enemy against another, which we've seen in a couple different videos, which is really cool. I think that this game is definitely worthy of its hype. You know, there are a few caveats which I'll concede to, where, you know, the frame rate is a bit of an issue. It's not perfect, but it's forgivable when you look at the sheer size and depth of the world that you're in. You know, there's miles and miles and miles of land to cover. You know, there's incredible amounts of things to do in the game. You know, if you want to collect all the shrines, you can do that. You can find all the activities for the Korok seeds. You can go out of your way and get the Master Sword, which is completely optional in this game. You don't have to do it, which is a really cool point of this game, is you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You can put as much time as you want into this game and get, you know, the world out of it, or you could just complete it. You can just go through the story, you can beat the Divine Beast, and that's that. But I implore most people that if you want to see where this game shines, it's putting the time into the game. So for someone who just wants to do the story, this game might not be for you, oddly enough. You know, just completing the Divine Beasts is not enough in this game to really warrant calling it a full playthrough. You know, there's a lot of other stuff to do. And to be honest, like, you're doing yourself a disservice, because, you know, you're not checking out all the cool spots that there are in the game. You're not checking out all these crazy memories that you need to gather in the game. You're not getting the personality of the locales in the game, which it's just sad. Like, if you're gonna miss all of that. This is a game for people who want to spend a large amount of their time in an immersive experience where you feel like you're part of the world and you feel like you're making a difference in the game. You know, there's a lot of really cool elements of this, whether it be, you know, the shrines showing you little bit by bit that, you know, you can do this with your powers, or, you know, you can upgrade your Sheikah slate and make it more powerful and have it do different things. You can get all this cool weaponry in the game. You can make weaponry in the game. You can cook food that has all different sorts of abilities, which is great. You can spend hours just doing side stuff without actually advancing in the game. And I mean, I think for completionists and people who love, you know, getting immersed in a world, this is for them. This is like the greatest love letter that Nintendo could ever deliver, with, you know, showing you a world about Zelda. So Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild does something that I don't believe a lot of the other Legend of Zelda games have done, and that's gently nudge you in the right direction. You know, we got into a habit with just video games in general of the game telling us, look over there, there's a thing, go do it, we'll show you how to do it, we'll hold your hand the entire way, it's gonna be great. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild tends to get away from that, where it's like, alright, hey listen, we're gonna give you a bunch of powers, you're gonna get all these weapons that you're gonna collect throughout the game, but you're gonna have to figure out how to, you know, really use them by playing the game, which is something that hasn't been done well in a very long time. There are games that just don't explain shit to you, and then you're kind of up the creek without a paddle, for lack of a better term. And this game uses the shrines as a way of tutoring you on how to hone your powers and use them in later battles, whether it be in a boss battle, whether it be against just main enemies. You know, you can really dig your feet in and learn a lot about how you can better harness your tools. And I feel a lot of games don't do that anymore, and it's sad. But, you know, perhaps this is a good beginning point and a good example of what can be done when, you know, we stop holding people's hands. You know, we can find things out for ourselves. And it's great that Nintendo can do something like that. So in summation, I would like to say that if you have a Wii U or a Nintendo Switch, and if you have a Switch, you probably already have this game. I don't have to recommend it because there's what else is out right now. But if you have a Wii U, spend the $50. Get the game, enjoy it, play through it. If you're just playing to go through it and beat it, I don't know if this is the game for you. I will say that it is worthy of all the hype and praise that it's getting. It's done so many things great and right. And I hope when there is another Legend of Zelda game that they could follow it up with something just as great. Nintendo really went out of their way to reinvent the Legend of Zelda franchise with this game. And I feel that they're on the right path with just new things coming out, that we can expect more with different titles, whether it be, the Super Mario game, Super Mario Odyssey coming out, the new Splatoon game. I think that we'll see a lot of ingenuity coming out of Nintendo, and I feel that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is only the beginning. So with that, guys, I think that does it for this episode. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on geekade.com, and we'll be back with another BitBytes video soon. Till then, keep playing games, stay Vesely, and we'll see you in the next episode.